The sun never truly set on New Terra Nullius. It only shifted from blinding to blistering. The red sand shimmered under a pale blue sky as if the desert itself burned from within. Winds howled low through the rusted husks of mining rigs long abandoned, whispering of the blood spilled and forgotten. Kara Doyle crouched behind a ridge of shale, her skin caked in dust, sweat pooling beneath her shirt. Through the broken lens of old binoculars, she tracked the marauders. Virex soldiers, tall, armor-plated, their movements precise. Predators. Aliens who came not to conquer, but to amuse themselves with the helpless. 12 colonists were herded toward the center of what used to be Sand Grove Station, now a charred wreck. One of the soldiers, a brute with a cracked chest plate and 4 twitching mandibles, ripped a shovel from a settler's hands and struck him across the jaw. The man collapsed. No one moved. "Stand, human!" the soldier barked. His translator crackled, distorting the voice into a grotesque parody of civility. "Show your spine!" No one helped the fallen. They knew better. Weakness drew attention. Attention got you killed. Kara's jaw tensed. She hadn't come to play hero. Watching was all she allowed herself now. Watch, warn, survive. She whispered a dry curse and adjusted the strap on her shoulder. Just a backpack, nothing useful inside. Her rifles were buried deep in the hills, sealed off with the memories she refused to relive. A child, a girl, couldn't be more than 10, tripped as she was shoved forward. Her mother reached out. Too late. The same marauder raised his rifle, aiming at the girl's temple. Kara moved before she could think. The throw was clean. A rock the size of a grapefruit slammed into the alien's shoulder, forcing a hiss of pain and a stagger. Before anyone could react, Kara had already vanished over the ridge, crawling through a gully like a desert lizard. "What was that?" another marauder shouted in their native clicks and growls. They scanned the ridge. Nothing. Kara circled wide, breath shallow, heart drumming like war drums in her chest. She hadn't meant to intervene. But some lines refused to be ignored, even after years of trying. She slid behind a dead tree and waited, ears straining for pursuit. None came. The colonists were dragged away. The girl lived, for now. Kara watched them disappear into the dust before retreating toward her shelter, a sunken cargo container hidden beneath layers of brush. Inside, cool darkness greeted her. No light, just memories. She lit a small lamp and stared at the photos on the wall. Her old unit, Recon Omega. Earth's best. Ghost in the Orion War. Smiles frozen in time. All dead. All because she believed a Concord truce. Because she trusted something alien. She shoved the thought down and cracked open a can of synthetic water. Outside, dusk painted the horizon in bruised purple. The wind shifted. With it came voices, faint, strained, human. "Help! Anyone! Please!" She almost didn't move. Almost. But Kara knew that voice. 10 minutes later, she reached the edge of a dry ravine. A man, mid-40s, bleeding from his leg, leaned against a boulder, struggling to keep his eyes open. His name came to her through layers of forgotten conversations. "Henry," she said, approaching cautiously. He looked up, face contorted in surprise and pain. "Kara? Don't speak." She examined the wound. "Burnt, blaster shot. You're lucky they didn't finish the job. They were laughing," he gasped. "Said we breed like rodents. That it was sport. They're coming back." She bound the wound in silence, the heat from his blood soaking into her hands. "You were one of them soldiers, weren't you?" he asked, voice low. "Long time ago. You gonna let them keep hunting us?" She didn't answer. Back in her container, Henry slept. She sat in the corner, boots off, staring at the floor. They laughed. The words echoed in her skull. They laughed the same way Zurich did, on the day her team was gunned down after surrendering. A gesture of mercy, they'd called it. Mercy wrapped in betrayal. Kara rose and opened the hidden hatch behind the back panel. The darkness inside tasted like iron and oil. She pulled out the case. It hissed when opened, revealing weapons older than some colonies. Earth tech. Her old gear. Modified plasma rifle. Shock knife. Camo mesh. She ran her fingers over the familiar grip of the rifle, eyes flat. By sunrise, she had tracked the Marauders' patrol route. Predictable. Arrogant. They took the same path each morning, flaunting their dominance like strutting peacocks. A perfect ambush site lay just north, a ravine that swallowed sound and sight. She left a message in the sand, written with charred bone. Still laughing? Then she vanished again. That night, around the fire pit in the center of their encampment, the Marauders found it. Zurich squinted at the writing. Human bravado. One of his lieutenants spat beside it. Empty threat. Zurich tilted his head, considering. No, he said softly, claws tapping his gauntlet. This smells like a ghost. The desert was quiet at dawn, too quiet. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that settles in after something violent has passed through and left silence in its wake. Kara moved through the terrain like a shadow, no wasted steps, no trail. Her boots barely pressed the sand. She watched from a crag above as the Marauders returned from patrol, missing one. Only one. A helmet lay half buried in the sand where she'd left it, split clean down the center. The soldier it belonged to had screamed once. Only once. Zurich didn't seem rattled. He stared at the helmet, then at the ridge line. Kara knew that look. He'd caught the scent. She was done hiding. Back at her hideout, Henry was awake, the pain in his leg dulled by meds. He sat up as she entered, eyes drawn to the rifle slung over her shoulder. That yours? He asked. Kara nodded. Looks like it's seen hell. It has. Henry studied her. You always knew this day would come, didn't you? Kara didn't answer. She unpacked her old equipment, laying it out piece by piece on a canvas tarp. Rifle, sidearm, throwing blades, shock knife. The tech was battered reliable, like her. She moved through the motions like an old ritual. Then you're really going after them, Henry said. Not all of them. Just him. Zurich. She froze. You remember his name, he said. I never forgot it. Zurich sat inside a makeshift command tent carved into the ruins of a mining station. His claws traced the edge of a tactical display as his second-in-command, a brutish thing called Varix, paced. It's a settler with a gun, Varix said. One kill. That's luck. Zurich turned slowly. That was no settler. That was a message. Written in our language. Varix scoffed. A lucky guess. Zurich's voice dropped. We're being hunted. And not by prey. The tent fell quiet. Zurich tapped the screen again, his expression unreadable. She's still alive. I was sure she died with her unit. But the style, the precision. I'd stake my rank. Varix narrowed his eyes. You think it's her? I don't think. Zurich's mandibles twitched. I know. Kara moved through the canyon just before sundown. She'd memorized the paths, the patrols, the blind spots. Old instincts came back fast, muscle memory sharpened by purpose. She reached the cave. Its mouth gaped like an ancient wound in the earth. This was where she'd buried them. Inside, the air was cold, unnatural. She stepped over bones long bleached by time and found the back wall. A section of rock disguised the entry. She pressed her palm to the scanner. A click echoed. The wall shifted open. Beyond it, time had frozen. Her armor, sealed in an oxygen-free vault, was intact. Matte black, scratched and scarred, it looked more like a second skin than protection. Kara suited up. As she clipped the last piece into place, a low hum filled the cave, the suit waking up, recognizing its soldier. A voice crackled through the helmet's comms. An old recording. Omega Team, missions ago. Let's show the galaxy what humans do when we're backed into a corner. She stood still as it ended. The weight of it didn't crush her this time. Outside, the wind picked up, swirling dust around her feet. She knelt, dragged a finger across the sand, and drew the old insignia Omega Recon. Then she began planting charges. Small. Silent. Deadly? By nightfall, 3 Marauder patrols had disappeared. No sound. No signs. Just empty armor and smears of black blood. Inside the ruined outpost, Zurich paced like a caged predator. She's escalating, Varix growled. She wants us scared. Zurich smiled coldly. It's working. Varix slammed his fist into the console. Why not leave? Regroup. Call for reinforcement. Zurich turned. You want to explain to High Command that one human, sent an elite unit running? That she's dismantling us, and we ran? Varix didn't answer. Zurich continued, eyes gleaming. She's baiting us. Good. Let's give her something worth hunting. Kara crouched near a ridge, her eyes locked on the Marauder camp below. They'd moved. Reinforced their perimeter. Trip mines. Lookouts. It was almost flattering. She spotted him, Zurich. Even from this distance, she recognized his gait. Confident. Controlled. He'd aged, but not softened. She raised her rifle, let the scope steady. Her finger hovered over the trigger. Then she lowered it. Not yet. This wasn't revenge. Not entirely. It was warning. She turned, leaving behind a sensor-tagged blade buried in the sand. An hour later, the camp lit up in red. Intrusion! Shouted a Virex guard. They found the blade embedded like an offering. The tag beeped softly. No explosion. Just data, coordinates, and a timestamp. Zurich picked it up. Read the message carved into its hilt. 1 by 1. You remember why? His grip tightened. She's not just hunting us. He looked to the stars. She's sending a message to all of them. Back in the hills, Kara watched the sky. For the first time in years, her hands were steady. She was no longer a ghost hiding from war. She was the shadow war remembered. And the hunt had only begun. They came before sunrise, expecting revenge. Kara gave them education. 3 Marauder squads moved through the South Pass in perfect formation, 18 soldiers, all armored, all armed with pulse rifles and shock blades. They thought it would be a sweep, a show of force. They brought a drone for surveillance and a banner for intimidation. Kara let the drone live. The soldiers less so. She'd studied their routes for days, tracked foot patterns, logged timestamps, marked resting habits. In the canyon's narrow belly, she planted low-frequency pulse mines that triggered just enough to scramble visual sensors without making a sound. They didn't see her. They heard the first scream after one of them tripped the snare wire and vanished into a pit laced with barbed rebar. The others spread out. Exactly as planned. From above, she dropped 2 more with precision shots, one to the knee, the other to the throat. No kill shots. Screams invited panic. Panic triggered mistakes. Mistakes got people killed. By the time the dust settled, 9 bodies were missing. The survivors fled without orders. The banner they carried fell in the dirt, forgotten. Back at camp, Zurich listened to the report with his mandibles clenched. Varix delivered it with a twitch in his jaw. She's not attacking our strength, he said. She's carving around it. Bleeding morale. Zurich studied the holographic terrain map. She's teaching them. Teaching? He turned. The colonists. She's turning farmers into fighters. Varix scoffed. With what? Shovels and gut instinct? With fear. With memory. That's how humans win. Kara stood before 15 colonists in a dust-worn barn outside Old Junction, the only town left untouched, so far. They were tired, bruised, underfed. But none looked away. Your enemy thinks you're too weak to matter, she said. That's your weapon. They won't see you coming. A woman with oil-stained sleeves raised her hand. What do we do when they bring ships? You fight before they get to the ship. You make them scared to walk. Kara drew a circle in the dirt. You don't meet them head-on. You bleed them. 1 cut at a time. A man stepped forward, mid-30s, thick shoulders, shaking hands. I've never killed anything before. You will, Kara said. And when you do, remember who made it necessary. Nightfall brought another lesson. Kara led 3 volunteers to intercept a lone supply runner, Virex, armored, moving fast. They cut power to the comms relay first, dropped an EMP net when he entered the tunnel pass. He never saw the blade. She handed it to the volunteer. You stab here, she said, pressing the tip against the joint beneath the rib panel. Twist twice. Pull fast. No hesitation. The man stared at the weapon. He'll scream. Then don't give him time to. He did as instructed. When it was over, he vomited in the sand. Kara waited for him to stop, then handed him water. Feel anything? She asked. He nodded slowly. Alive. Back at the outpost, Zurich grew impatient. Why haven't we found her base? We've mapped every heat source. Nothing human-sized. She's not living in comfort. She's using terrain. Smarter than we are. Varix muttered. She's still one woman. No, Zurich said. She's what's left when you strip away civilization. She's pure function now. He tapped his claws on the table. Prepare the scorch teams. If we can't find her, we'll make the land uninhabitable. They burned the South Hills. Incinerators turned eucalyptus groves into ash columns. They razed the old comms hub, turned underground shelters to slag. No resistance. No Kara. But she watched. From high cliffs, from tunnel shadows, from the space between pulses in a heartbeat. Every time they scorched a path, she mapped their fuel consumption, marked their fallback positions, studied the weight of exhaustion building in every soldier's gait. At night, she returned to the barn. Half the volunteers had already taken their first kill. Some smiled. Others shook. All stood straighter. She looked over the group. They'll come in force soon. We hit them before they regroup. A teenager, barely 17, Burns still healing, asked, What if we don't make it? Kara didn't blink. Then make them pay. Pain teaches louder than death. They struck the next convoy at dusk, 2 rovers and a transport walker hauling rations and fuel cells. Kara coordinated the hit with ruthless efficiency. She led the frontal bait attack, drawing fire and attention, while 3 teams circled behind with homemade charges and looted disruptors. The walker exploded first, legs blown off, cockpit imploding. 1 rover stalled in retreat. The other fired blindly into the smoke, catching nothing but wind. Colonists swarmed the survivors with blades and fire axes. Blood mixed with dust. Alien shrieks echoed for miles. Not one human died. They left a message scratched into the metal husk of the walker. Still laughing? Zurich read it personally when his team arrived at the wreckage. He touched the words, blackened into the scorched panel. She's winning, Barix said. No, Zurich replied. She's evolving. That's worse. Kara cleaned her rifle with practiced care, seated beside the campfire outside Old Junction. Henry sat nearby, crouched beside him, watching the sparks drift into night. She's not gonna stop, he said. No. Neither are they. Kara looked up at the stars, cold, indifferent, watching. That's the point. He shook his head. You're not fighting a war. You're starting one. She slung the rifle over her shoulder and stood. Her voice was quiet, steel hidden in the tone. I'm finishing the last one. The marauders stopped laughing. They started whispering. They whispered at night, when their fires burned too low and their patrols never returned. They whispered names they thought were ghosts, names like Doyle. A legend from Earth's Black Ops playbook. Dead, they said. Lost during the Orion betrayal. But ghosts don't leave footprints. Kara didn't need to leave signs anymore. Fear worked faster than fire. She'd become myth. The first one screamed for help. His squad heard it through static, distorted and wet. When they found him, he was upside down, hanging from a steel cable like game meat. His armor was stripped, rifle melted. A knife pinned a message to his chest plate. Your prey now. They didn't touch the body. They burned it on the spot. Kara watched from a ridge as the marauders regrouped near the old refinery. Their circle tightened. Sentries posted every 15 meters. No more lone scouts. No more wandering squads. Every move broadcasted through encrypted comms. Smart. But not fast enough. She slipped inside the perimeter just before dusk. Dust storms swept through the plains, turning the world red and gold. Perfect cover. She moved like smoke, hugging shadows, her rifle slung silent across her back. By the time the sentries noticed one of their own missing, Kara was already 3 tents deep. She found the comms tent and cut every cable. Then she placed a pulse beacon beneath the command terminal and walked out. No one saw her. They heard the blast 5 minutes later. The camp lit up like panic. Orders shouted. Weapons drawn. Nobody aimed at anything. Zurich stood outside the wreckage, jaw clenched. She walked through 20 soldiers. Varix muttered. No, Zurich said. She didn't walk. She hunted. He turned to his second in command. Send the message. Full lockdown. All units converge at Site Vega. If she wants a war, we give her a graveyard. Kara crouched on the edge of the eastern ridge, peering through the scope. Vega was a fortress, built into a canyon wall, reinforced steel, overlapping turrets, motion detectors. If the Marauders had a throne, this was it. She watched Zurich arrive in a land skimmer. His gait was slower now. He checked corners. Wore heavier armor. Good. That meant he was scared. But Kara didn't care about his fear. She wanted his fall. That night, she returned to Old Junction for supplies. Henry met her by the gate. They're gathering everything at Vega, he said. I know. You're going after him? She nodded. He hesitated. You won't make it out. She shrugged. Doesn't matter. He stepped closer. It does to us. Kara looked at the makeshift training yard. Dozens of colonists drilling under torchlight, loading scavenged weapons, practicing knife throws. Farmers. Mechanics. Children who now walked with steel in their spines. She exhaled. Then I'll give them something to remember. Midnight. Kara moved. She entered the canyon from the south under full cloak, crossing through sensor fields like a ghost. She'd studied Vega's layout from stolen intel, memorized every blind zone. The first kill was silent, guard near the turret bank, distracted, helmet cracked like an egg. She moved through tunnels, planting charges at junctions. Every corner became a trap. Every hallway a message. She wasn't infiltrating. She was building a tomb. Zurich stood in the control tower, eyes locked on motion trackers. She's here, he whispered. How do you know? Varix asked. Zurich didn't answer. Then the alarms cut out. Not tripped, silenced. Darkness rolled over the outpost like a curse. Red backup lights blinked on. No sound. No movement. Zurich reached for his weapon. A body dropped outside the glass wall, smashing against the balcony rail. His mandibles twitched. She's not hunting us, he said. Varix turned. Then what's she doing? Zurich stared into the dark. She's erasing us. Kara slipped through the chaos like wind. One blast behind her. Screams echoing. She moved faster. Zurich was 2 levels up. She had one last charge. She planted it beneath the support beam of the tower and climbed. The stairwell shook. A guard appeared, blaster raised. She ducked, drove a blade under his jaw, kept moving. Smoke filled the stairwell. Sirens glitched. Metal groaned. She reached the top. Zurich stood waiting, rifle ready. Doyle, he said. Knew you'd remember. His eyes narrowed. You could have died with your unit. You should have killed me when you had the chance. He fired. She dropped, rolled behind a console, pulled a flash charge from her belt and tossed it. The blast blinded him. She struck. 2 shots cracked his chest plate. He roared, swung wild. She ducked under, drove her shoulder into his gut, both of them crashing through the tower wall. They landed hard on the balcony, coughing smoke. Zurich staggered. blood spilled from his side. You think you've won? She pulled a detonator from her pouch. I think you forgot who you're dealing with. He lunged. She clicked. The tower cracked. Steel screamed. She dove from the balcony as the structure collapsed, fire blooming behind her. Zurich's roar vanished beneath falling stone. She landed rough, tumbled hard. When she rose, bruised but breathing, the outpost behind her was gone. Not fire. Not ruin. Oblivion. Kara walked back through the canyon alone. But now, the shadows walked with her. Kara followed the blood. Not drips, trails. Thick, dark smears winding through the gorge behind Vega. Zurich had escaped the collapse, but not untouched. His footprints dragged. His pace faltered. He was wounded, likely concussed. Still dangerous. But not invincible. She adjusted the grip on her rifle and pushed forward. The wind tore through the canyon, screaming over the bones of metal and stone. Kara didn't flinch. Her heartbeat was a steady drum now. Her breath calm. Every step she took was deliberate. The hunter had no need to rush. Her prey was already cornered. Zurich leaned against a jagged boulder, chest heaving. His left arm hung limp, bones shattered beneath armor. A shard of steel was embedded near his ribs. He ignored it. His focus stayed ahead, on the path, on escape. His comm unit buzzed, static, no response. He was alone. And she was close. He'd felt her in the dark, the way animals sense storms. I should have killed you, he muttered, blood spattering his chin. A whisper from the shadows answered him. You tried. Kara emerged from behind a rock, silent as dusk. Rifle aimed. No hesitation. Drop the weapon, she said. Zurich didn't move. You came to finish it? No. She stepped closer. I came to make sure you remembered who did. He raised his blaster. She fired. The shot hit his shoulder, twisting him to the ground. His weapon skidded into the dust. He growled, struggling to his knees. You think this makes you strong? No, she said. It makes you forgotten. She stepped on his hand. He roared, swung his claws. She sidestepped, drove her elbow into the back of his neck. He collapsed again. Her knife was in her hand now. Its tip hovered just above his throat. But she didn't press it in. I want you to listen, she said, crouching beside him. Zurich's eyes burned with rage. Years ago, you slaughtered my team. Surrendered, hands raised. You executed them. Orders, he hissed. You laughed while they died. He blinked once. Slowly. You don't get to die quick, Kara said. You get to crawl. You get to feel every step burn. She stood, holstered the knife. I've already won. Zurich coughed, blood pooling in his mouth. Then why not kill me? Because dead men tell no stories, she replied. But you will. She activated a beacon and dropped it beside him. Its blue light pulsed in rhythmic intervals. That signal set to human command frequencies. They'll find you. They'll see what's left of the Virex elite. She walked away. Behind her, Zurich howled, rage, shame, pain fused into a sound no translator could contain. Kara didn't turn back. By the time she returned to Old Junction, dawn painted the sky in streaks of fire. The colonists waited, silent, alert. Henry stood at the front, leaning on his crutch. She stopped at the gate. It's done, she said. Nobody cheered. Nobody clapped. They didn't need to. They understood what it had cost her. Henry stepped forward. And Zurich? Alive. Humiliated. He raised an eyebrow. Mercy? No, she said. Legacy. 2 days later, human military dropships arrived. They found Zurich exactly where she left him, broken but breathing, beside a trail of ash and silence. Satellite scans confirmed what stories couldn't. Vega had been erased. Virex presence wiped out. Reports circulated. Rumors spread. One woman. No army. Just vengeance with a rifle. In the weeks that followed, settlers began rebuilding. Fields tilled. Water systems repaired. Life slowly returned. Kara remained on the outskirts. Watching. Helping from a distance. She didn't belong in the center. Not yet. One evening, Henry brought her a calm slate. "Official orders," he said. "Earth wants you back." Kara scanned it. A full reinstatement offer, rank, medals, clearance. She handed it back. "No." He frowned. "Why not?" "I already served my time," she said. "Now I serve memory." Under the stars, she sat alone with her gear cleaned, weapons stored, armor packed away. Not forgotten, just resting. From behind, the girl she saved on the first day approached, holding a small carved stone. "It's for you," the child said shyly. Kara took it. The carving was crude, her shape, standing over a crater, rifle slum. "Thanks," Kara murmured. The girl pointed to the horizon. "They say you came from the shadows." Kara smiled faintly. "No. I just knew how to survive them." The girl paused, eyes wide. "Are you leaving?" Kara looked out at the hills, at the desert that had shaped her, broken her, then made her whole again. "Not yet," she said. The wind stirred. Somewhere in the distance, dust rolled across the dunes like ghosts changing watch. Kara stood. The hunt was over. But the desert never forgot.